Hi, everyone. Welcome to lecture 2 of CIS 55. I'm hoping you guys are squared away with Canvas or any of other onboarding issues. If you do have issues, please email me or ask the class in Discord. As we get started, we will review Lab 1. So how was Lab 1? Um,
Uh, could I start if that's okay?
yeah, go ahead.
So for me, all I can say is that it was refreshing. And I say this because I took this class back in fall of 22, and unfortunately, I could only do it with my MacBook, and I wasn't able to fully access Lab 1. And by that I mean we used Hack the Box instead of Try Hack Me, and it was just really confusing for me to do. But it's for this lab, I was able to get through it no problem. And it was just really refreshing because I was just excited that I could actually do the work and get it done this time instead of being lost or struggling with it like I was the first time. So it was just an overall, just a refreshing thing for me.
Great. Um, awesome. Um, anyone else?
Yeah, it was pretty straightforward for me,
Um,
except when it come to
yeah,
the VPN part, I got an error.
Yeah. Um, sweet. So yeah, the VPN work was for extra credit, and I don't expect you guys to do it, but we will talk about it. Anyone else?
for me, it was pretty straightforward. I didn't try the Open VPN extra extra credit, but the try hack me was pretty more or less straightforward.
Okay.
Thank you.
Awesome. So let me just review the lab with you guys. The Discord portion, is everyone on the Zoom call today in Discord? Let's make sure that happened. Yes. Okay. Perfect. If you're not on Discord, yes, this first lab will make sure you get in it. Second task was to create your Try Hack Me account. And so what I'm going to try and do is, let's say, this is the room, the tutorial room is what I wanted you guys to do. So you guys see my screen here. So I know someone had a problem with Try Hack Me. So this is Try Hack Me, and I will just kind of
I'm
show
sure you're
you a
focused on
couple
working on
things.
something, right? You're
Okay.
focused on working on something, right?
Sweet. So here you wanna go to the link I sent, which is in the lab, the link is room tutorial. So I'm gonna try to do that, and it's gonna ask me to sign up, right? And so it's gonna ask me to sign up, right? And so here, before I kind of get in and access the material, you wanna log in. So here you wanna click join for free. So there is a free version here. So I have several accounts. So I'm gonna do one for the class. I'm just gonna say for strong password. Okay, so this should get you signed up. So as you kind of see, I did not need to, purchase anything. I'm just going to say I'm a beginner, I'm a student, uh, institution as a college. You can, if you want. Um, wait. And so it'll kind of tell you some learning paths, etc. You can sign one up. But what I really want you guys to do is go to the room slash tutorial. So that's basically what I go in here. What it's going to tell me is, join the room. So you want to click on join the room. So I am joined the room, and then it's going to ask me to start an attack box and to connect here, right? And so really what you have to do is, just say start an attack box, and this is how it's going to show you, right? And what the attack box is, it's a Kali Linux virtual machine, which lets you kind of complete the room. Um, and the reason we want to use a attack box is so that you can kind of learn all these hacker tools and techniques using this machine. So think of it, it's a computer which you kind of have access to, and it's hosted by TryHackMe. So they basically give you, one machine to run for 60 minutes for free. Um, and with this machine, you can try different, different exercises. You can try different tools, and you can learn ways to hack. You can learn ways to complete the exercise, but it's pretty straightforward in terms of how you interact with it. You don't have to install anything. It just works. It should work from Firefox. It works from Chrome browser. So this is one way to just sort of use it, and this is the easier way. You don't need uh, anything installed on your machine. Someone has a question here.
I do.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I understood how the Star Machine works. It's like pretty much a computer through the website. But I was wondering, how does that work in the real life? Um, I don't know. It's how I couldn't understand the difference, like between using the Star Machine and the real life. If you want to get access to a computer.
Yeah, so in real life, you would be this machine. That's why I kind of ask you guys a question whether you have a virtual machine. What you would be doing is you would be installing something like this machine on your own machine.
Is that kind of mm, an app or website or account or that's my main question. Like we have to install something like that. Is that a program or how what that is?
It is an operating system. It's called Kali Linux. Um, and that you installed on a virtual machine. Or you can also have a computer where you just have Kali Linux and you use that tool, right?
What's the name?
Um,
Last question. What was the name?
I will review it with you guys, Kali Linux. But
Okay.
that's not something it's something a little bit more advanced. So I don't want the class to kind of get distracted onto it. So let's try to focus and just use simple tools for now. Okay.
you.
Okay, so as you sort of see in my browser now, I have like this whole machine which is in my browser I have access to. It just looks like a computer, and so I just click on the Firefox icon here. And what I'm going to try to do is I want to go to this machine, and what this machine is it is it is the IP address of this machine. This is 10.10. So what I'm going to do is in this browser, I'm going to type 10.10.247 dot 179. Okay.
Yeah, I got an error too when I did it.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think you need to click on the start machine on the left side.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, there you go. You're right. So I did not start the machine. That's why it was happening. So the machine is now up. I do have the attack box, which is up. And so, yeah, thanks for correcting that. So the reason I got an error because the machine was not up. So now I type 10.247.179 like that. I'm going to give it another minute. Let's see.
It should give you a different IP address because it's a different machine.
Yeah, it's going to show. Yeah, that's right. You're right. So the IP address here is the attack box's IP address. So I am connected to here. What I'm waiting for is this IP address here, which is the active machine's IP address. So and that is this one, 10.10.191.69. So there you go. So this is the machine I'm attacking. Where I'm attacking from is this machine, which is called the attack box. Can someone tell me like some significance of these IP addresses? They all start with 10.10, or they all machines are called 10.10.
Are they public IP address?
They are not public IP addresses. So on your computer, has anyone seen an IP address which starts with 192?
Is this supposed to be your local host?
That's right. So, that's great. So anything on your computer, if you see sometimes you're fussing with something at your home and an IP address like 192 comes up, right? And we'll also talk about what IP addresses mean, because, a lot of people don't have computer and networking basics. So we'll talk about it. But for now, I'm expecting that you've heard the term IP address. So the IP address is basically an address, like a name of the machine. So if the name starts with 192, then it basically means that it's somewhere local to you. When it starts with 10, that means that that machine is in a private network. So these machines are in a private network which is hosted by TryHackMe. So you can't just start access them from a regular browser, if you will, right? And so what TryHackMe is doing is it's giving you ways to access it, and the way they do it is by creating SSH keys for you. And creating a VPN. So what is a VPN? So VPN is, can someone tell me what VPN stands for?
Virtual private network.
So it's a virtual private network. So what TryHackMe did was it created a virtual private network for you, and it put one machine. This machine is the machine you are going to attack, and is 10.10.191.69. So this machine is the machine which you are going to attack, and then 10.10.247.179 is a machine they gave you for free to use as an attack box, or a machine which you can use to attack this machine. So you don't have to do it. So now the second way of solving this, and so if you click on the start attack box, and so you will see that you got the flag connection verified. And if you take that flag, this information, then you basically solve the problem, right? I'm just going to paste it here. There you go. It's going to give you some confetti, your assignment's done. That's sort of what I'm looking for. But if you are looking for a challenge, I ask you to kind of do OpenVPN. So what does this mean? So OpenVPN is, I can also connect to this machine from my personal machine. And this is something I'm going to show you. So on this machine, I have, let me see if I have it running, okay. So, okay, cool. So on this machine, which is, I have a Mac, I have a virtual machine installed. And this virtual machine you will see is a virtual machine of Kali Linux, okay? So I'll get started. Okay. So as it comes up,
Professor?
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I thought you weren't there.
No, 1 second. I'm just gonna try to log into the machine so that way, I can show it to you. Just 1 second.
Is there any way to install Kali Linux on a Windows-based machine?
Yes. So there is a lot of tutorials to do it. This is something I don't really do this in class because some people get it, some people don't, some people have a lot of problem. So for this class, you don't have to install Kali Linux, but I would love for you guys to try and do it on your own time. And so in the Discord, I will send you guys some links to install Kali Linux. Again, this is not required for the class, but if you want to try, this is a great way to actually do it. So I will send some links for Windows and for Mac to install it. There are two ways to install in Windows. You can use, some people love doing it through WSL, but usually I recommend is like just install VMware Fusion and install a Kali image on it. And the same way I install it on a Mac as well. And the Mac could be Intel Mac or it could be the M1 Macs, okay? But I will send you guys some links which are good tutorials to do it. You don't have to do it. It is something you should do in your spare time after you're done with the assignments of the class. But if you get to it, and if enough people actually have it installed, or in fact, if the whole class installs it, then I can show some advanced thing to you guys and you can learn a little bit more, okay? Yeah. So, there is no benefit of VMware or VirtualBox. You can install any virtualization technology. But I stick with one so that people can try one and not have some people try this and some people try that. So that's why I kind of suggest just use VMware Fusion. Okay. So watch out for the links in your Discord. Just 1 second. Let me see. Something's wrong with my machine here. I am going to give you guys a little bit of just 1 second. Okay. Let's see if this works. All right. Okay, that worked. Okay. So you see my screen here? Yes?
Yes, we see it.
Okay, great. So here you will see like, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to tryhackme.com and this is going to be a little bit, I'm going to sign in again. But this time I created a new account for this class. Get the password for it. Just 1 second as I do that. Okay. So I am showing this a little bit more in detail so that you guys see the process. Again, this is not something I expect you guys to do it. But if you get to this, then it's you can try some advanced things. Okay, just 1 second. Uh, Okay, so all right, I have the password. I hope this one works fine. Okay, so we are gonna switch to the Kali Linux here. I am going to not a robot. So okay. Okay, great. So I'm just going to say for now. So here you will see that I am probably in the same room slash tutorial on a different machine. So this is a Kali Linux machine. And you will see like, it's showing me the same browser like that, right? Like the attack box which I've done. But instead, what I'm kind of going to do is do the VPN, right? And so here, when I click, what it's going to show me is, oh, you can access this from my own computer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, I'm in US West, and that's usually what I kind of pick, like a US West machine. And so it it gave me a file called VibhavB OpenVPN. And so the way to connect, and this is the free version, right? So the way to connect is free is with OpenVPN. So what I'm going to do is I open a terminal. This is a little bit where you have to kind of, get used to it. So you see I have OpenVPN already installed on Kali Linux. It comes default. And so I'm going to say OpenVPN, and then the file I'm going to use is, I downloaded this file. In my downloads here, you will see a file called this. And now I can connect it with OpenVPN, right? And so that is that is the beauty of this. So here you will see that in OpenVPN, it'll tell you like, do this. So this is how you connect with OpenVPN. Does that sort of help you guys understand? Like you can connect, and so you can connect to this machine through Kali Linux, or you can connect to the browser. Again, like I'm just showing the Kali Linux now. We will discuss this in next class as well. If people have Kali Linux working, and I'll show it on my machine. But in this class, I just wanted to show you that you can use OpenVPN, and the way to do that is you sort of, you you use this. But let me show you one more thing. So there will be a lot of
So what is the command you was typing on Kali Linux, the OpenVPN? You want to download that configuration file, right? From the US
Yeah.
web.
That's right. That's right.
Was it the -C? I think the
That's right. Yes.
okay.
And if you're having any issue with OpenVPN, then I recommend just searching for so the way you can kind of do is like, whatever error you get, like in this case, for example, like, I do have an error with OpenVPN, which is this. So what you would do is, you can just paste that error, and sort of see see if someone has solved it.
OpenVPN is gonna be different with Windows. They have Linux, correct?
Say that again.
OpenVPN is gonna be different via Linux than Windows because I downloaded it for Windows.
No, it will be fine. It will be same. But you know what? I don't want you to use it on Windows because, if you are going to use OpenVPN, then I want you guys to kind of, there you go. So now we are connected. So, I want you guys to use Kali Linux. So on Windows, you should install Kali Linux, and from Kali Linux, you should do OpenVPN. because you're not going to learn a whole lot by just trying to use it from Windows, because subsequently all the tools and things, they're all on Kali Linux. Okay. So you will see if I go to browser here, and I refresh here, you will see that it'll tell me now I am connected through my virtual machine. And so the way I solved it, like I got an error before, right? And so the way I solved that error was, I think I was not running it as a administrator, this OpenVPN command. That's why I was getting the error. So I ran it as sudo, I am the administrator, and then the command name. Okay, so this is sort of how you would use OpenVPN. So you can, again, this is recorded. You can try it. One other thing which I recommend people to do a lot is to learn Linux command line. And these commands I'm typing might be a little bit too much for some people, but there is not a whole lot of them in the whole. In the whole class, we might not be doing more than 20 commands on the command line. But what you will, if you learn that and if you kind of memorize them, then they are going to be really your power tools. They will be your, Swiss Army life and so on. So you want to learn the command line. And so the best, there is a command line game, which I'm going to type in here, which I recommend. Again, like this is not required, but if you are new, if you want to learn the command line, then these are great ways and tools to learn. Okay, so let me get you to
Can I ask you a quick question?
go ahead.
On that screen that says machines, on the Try Hack Me, it says download configuration file, and next to it, it says regenerate, right? So every time you click on regenerate, does it changes was that the public key,
Yeah.
inside the configuration file?
Yes, it does. So you don't want to do that. Unless you really need to.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay. So let me bring that one up. Just 1 second. I don't have the link. Just 1 second.
I think it may be worth pointing out for anyone who's confused about running Linux and Kali Linux, if you're on Windows, and for most people who are on Mac, that you're going to be doing it like you are right now through a virtual machine. And so the virtual machine, you're going to download software. The most common is VM Fusion, and Danny shared a link in the chat for more information about running a virtual machine. But for most people, that's the way you're going to do it, I believe. Is that correct?
That's right. That's right. So you want to, because this is just you're doing for one class, but some people are just trying out security. So I don't want you to mess up your machine. But this is also the best way to do it so that everything is contained. Whenever you are hacking, you just fire up this box. So with one computer, this is the best way to do it. You install VMware Fusion. Or if you have anything else working. If you're going to do it from scratch, install VMware Fusion, and then on VMware Fusion, install Kali Linux, and then use that machine. Okay. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and when you say run Kali Linux, you can either install that as like a desktop image, or you can run it from like a USB drive. And just to clarify, for doing the Open VPN access through Try Hack Me, you should be doing that through a virtual machine on your desktop, correct?
Say that again.
For doing this Open VPN access to go into Try Hack Me using the Open VPN access, you should be running a virtual machine when you do that, correct?
That's right. Yes.
Yes.
So you should be doing this, right?
So install VM Fusionware to use VM Fusionware or a similar program to create a virtual machine, install Linux on the virtual machine, and then use that virtual machine to open VPN into Try Hack Me.
Yes, and so the advantage of doing this is, you get unlimited time, because if you and for this class, again, purposes of this class, the attack box is sufficient. But if you don't want to pay $15 per month to get unlimited attack box, and you want to use Try Hack Me unlimited, then OpenVPN is a great way to do it. Like, so that's why that's why also you want to do it, because in the next class, I'm going to give you an assignment, which is going to take you several tries. It's a little bit harder one. And so for that, sometimes, you will be able to do it completely with just attack box. But if you want to do something more, then I recommend doing this. Okay. So the other part which as I was saying, is like, this terminal I am showing you, this is this black window. This is something which, if you're new to computers, you are very much used to pointy clicky. But if you're trying to get any security things done, any administrative tasks done, and people who have done IT management are very familiar with something like that. Every operating system has this black window, and the one I want you guys to maybe learn a little bit, and this is going to help you, progress much faster in your security journey, is if you learn Linux command line. And so there is a lot of tools out there. I will send few links in your Discord as well, and I'll point you to a game which kind of makes this fun. But to begin with, if you got in Kali Linux, you open the terminal emulator, and try few commands. So one is help. So there is man is the command which gives you help on anything. So the command I want you to maybe try is, if you want to find what directory you are in, you say present working directory, and it gives you, okay, I'm in home/Kali directory. And then I want to find all the files in this directory. The command is ls. And if I want to read on this command, then the way to do that is say man ls. And so it will list directory contents, q exits it. If I said, like, let's say man pwd is going to say, print name of current working directory. These are two commands you should try if you want to find contents of the file. So in this, let's say I go to the go directory, and let's say I go to package, package directory here. I go to mod. Let me see if there is anything. Okay, there is cache. Download. So you can kind of go like that. If you want to read, if you want to, I'm just gonna say that. So let's say, I'm gonna. If there were a file, I'm going to say, let's say if I said, you don't have to learn this command, but like, if let's say there was a file called foo.txt and I want to read it, there are several ways to read it. You can say more, it'll give the content of the file, or you can say cat. So cat will give you also the content of the file. So if I want to edit the file, to start with, easy editor is called Nano. And so here I can say foo file, adding more info. And to write out is, there are these down here, you will see that there are these commands. So I'm just going to say Control O, and then I'm going to exit it. So these all keystrokes which I did, again, like this is going to, for some people, you're going to feel, oh, this is a little bit too much, that I'm kind of lost. I'm showing it to you so that you kind of become familiar. If you are lost, it's completely fine. Don't worry about it. This is something you aspire to get to, right? And so these will be your tools of the trade, right? Like when you are doing anything pen testing, anything hacking, you're going to spend most of your time in this black window. And so, how do you kind of get warmed up to it, right? And so, you want to at least get familiar with it, how to open it, how to see the present working directory, how to list content of the file. Uh, don't fear it. You can pretty much Google anything about command line and even use like ChatGPT or something like that, and you will learn it. And even if you don't learn it, you can figure it out, right? So don't get afraid that just because it's a black window and it's all keyboard and there is no mouse, some people kind of have that fear, right? So don't keep that in don't have that. Okay, so with that, like, that's the part I wanted to kind of cover for lab 1. Show you how to do it with OpenVPN, show you a little bit of command line. I will give you few links in Discord. These are not required for everyone in the class, but if most of the class can get it done, then we can perhaps cover some advanced stuff as well. But for most of the content of the class, we will be using just a browser and using the attack box. Okay, so keep that in mind. I just want to kind of assignments for this week. The lab 2 will be opened up after this class, and then quiz 1 will be opened up after this class. Quiz 1 is based on contents of the first class, so keep that in mind. Okay, so we are going to take a break, but before we take a break, I want to kind of give you an overview of what we are going to cover today. Okay, so today we're going to cover ethics. I'm going to have you guys, review a little bit of ethics about hacking. We're going to talk about, some use cases in ethics. And then we're going to cover 2 topics. One is incident response, and then cryptography. So those 2 topics we will cover in addition to ethics. We are going to take a 10-minute break, and when we come back, we will jump into ethics.
Weibao, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
We used to use NetLabs. So NetLabs and TryHackMe, basically, it creates a isolated environment, right? It's the same, it downloads just images. So when you are done with hacking, you just destroy it. It doesn't linger around. My question is NetLabs the same as the TryHackMe environment? I mean, in terms of creating, it could be VMware images, stuff like that.
No, it's not. NetLabs is like really like, where the servers are hosted locally in one of the colleges. It is a little bit dated system. It's a bit unreliable from what we've seen, but it has a lot of power. It does give you a virtual machine to use, but all the content inside it needs to be created and kept up to date, which is a hard thing. Whereas TryHackMe is a company which does education, and then they offer these labs from their servers. NetLabs are hosted locally in California by a bunch of community colleges, whereas TryHackMe is company. I think they are based out of UK.
Okay.
So it's different.
All right.
Okay.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Thank you.
All right, guys. So I'll see you in about 9 minutes or so. All right. Watch for the timer. I'm gonna actually reset it. Let's start the timer. We'll see you guys soon. Okay.
Where you sharing?
So on the Discord channel, I posted these links, but I'm also sharing with you here in the PowerPoint. So if you want to run Kali Linux or install Kali Linux on Windows, there are two options. One is you can install VMware Fusion. So I recommend this if you're starting from scratch. And then on VMware, in VMware Fusion, you install Kali Linux. This is one of the articles I found. But if you're having trouble with article, just search on Google and find the most recent one. Like, it's pretty common, but I recommend trying to do on VMware Fusion as to start. If you have a Mac, I have a link here for you guys to install VMware Fusion first, and then install Kali Linux on top of it. Okay. I have a Mac, and I have installed Kali Linux using VMware Fusion. Okay. And then once you have the Linux on your machine, or even otherwise, I recommend you guys to learn a little bit of Linux command line. And so the easiest tool to start with is Ubuntu, which is a good starter distribution of Linux. Has a command line tool for beginners. So you can go through that. That's a great. And then to test it, this is the thing I was talking about. There is a game which is very much like a hacker style game, which you can progress through levels of it, called War Games Bandit. And this game will kind of help you learn few of the Linux command tools, right? Again, these are the command. There is not a whole lot of commands we need for this class, but for a lot of students, sometimes it's a little bit like, oh, what do all these things mean? As we kind of solve problems, you will learn these commands. There is less than 20 commands in the course, but at the same time, I encourage you guys to kind of get the fundamentals of a Linux command line. Don't be afraid. Anything you need to do in command line, you can learn in less than the half an hour. So keep that in mind. So those two links, these links are also in your Discord. I also posted them on Discord. Okay. Again, none of this is required for the class. Having Kali Linux is not required. Having Linux command line is not required. But if you do this, these are things which will come again and again in your cybersecurity journey, and they will just make your fundamentals stronger. Okay. All right. So last time we talked about like penetration testing. What does security mean? What I really want to talk about this time with you guys a little bit about ethics, right? we talked about white hat hackers, black hat hackers, gray hat hackers, right? And so, gray hat hackers are somewhere they do legal and illegal things. Black hat hackers do illegal things, right? And so let's talk a little bit when you are kind of learning and trying out things, right? What is okay, what is not okay, right? So can someone tell me, like, just like if I told you, like, company X is very vulnerable and I think their website is really bad. Can you go hack them? Would you go and just hack their website? Would you do that?
No,
Why not?
it's illegal. I don't know.
Right.
Not that it's illegal, but it's bad to do.
Now what if I gave you a very strong incentive and said, they're bad people, and they should know better. Would you go do it? What if I gave you monetary incentive? I said, you'll make $100,000 if you go do this. Would you do it?
No, because I don't want to go to jail.
Right? So, but there is the strong disincentive for doing something to other people's computer system is law. But at the same time, as a hacker, and over time, if you become good at it, there is a lot of power which comes to you, right? So you really need to have your ethics bearing right. So you you need to know what's okay, what's not okay, even if it is not spelled out in the case of law, right? So if I were to sum one thing as a hacker ethics, is the most important thing as a hacker you do is you do not cause any harm. Like, just like, doctors have a Hippocratic oath, where, they do not cause any harm. That's similar to it's similar to hackers. Okay, so what here is and we'll review this a little bit. So here is something which specifically, when someone is new to cybersecurity, you want to kind of look a little bit deeper. What's okay, what's not okay. Do not use a computer to harm other people. Do not interfere with other people's computer work. Do not snoop around in other people's computer files. And computer means not just like your desktop, but also phone, right? Do not use a computer to steal. Do not use a computer to bear false witness. Do not copy or use proprietary software for which you have not paid. That's also a crime. Okay. Do not use other people's computer resources without authorization or proper compensation. And do not appropriate other people's intellectual output. So, even like stealing source code from other people which you do not have permission for is not okay. Right? What's okay? Do think about social consequences of the program you're writing. So let's say you wrote a worm, but you never really ran it on any other people's data. You didn't really steal with it. You didn't really do anything, but you programmed a virus, for example, right? And you gave it to your friend. or you sold it, right? That is also not okay, because the consequence of your writing that program means that you made a tool for someone to cause harm, right? Uh, uh, always use a computer in ways that ensure consideration and respect for your fellow humans. So I'm going to kind of, these are the principles you want to keep in mind. I'm going to cover a few case studies, which kind of give you a little bit of bearing on what that is. So let me bring up these okay, right, just 1 second. Here. Okay. So I want to cover some case studies, and then we will also do a little bit of discussion around these case studies. So I'm going to give you 3 case studies, and what we're going to do is we're going to break into rooms and talk about it. Okay. So the first case study is Terry Childs, as told by former San Francisco Mayor Gavin Newsom to Slate magazine. So what is that? Let's review it. Okay, all right. Okay. So Terry Childs was a 43-year-old network engineer for City of San Francisco. He worked on our fiber optic network called FiberWAN, which handled crucial government data such as email, legal documents, and payroll. By most accounts, he was a diligent and talented employee, and he seemed dedicated to make sure that systems ran safely. Childs spent hours trying to perfect FiberWAN, upgrading equipment, and installing firewalls. In summer of 2008, Childs was reassigned, and when he was instructed to hand over the password he had created for FiberWAN, he refused. No one could get into the FiberWAN without a password. Emails were inaccessible, payroll couldn't go out, and documents were under virtual lock and key. The city was in crisis. We had to have the code. We spent at least $1 million, including hiring a team at Cisco to crack the code, but they couldn't do it. We had no choice but try to compel him to give the password. So the police arrested Childs on a charge of felony computer tampering and put him in jail. But he still wouldn't give up the code. He was as honest as I could be, asking him to give me the code as a favor, if nothing else. And he responded. Child said he didn't trust his bosses or colleagues, but at that moment he trusted me. He wrote down all the 28 numbers of letters and handed it over. And so the person he handed it over to is mayor of the city, Gavin Newsom. Okay. So keep this case study in mind. I want you guys to kind of review it. We are going to break into groups soon, and I want you guys to discuss this case. What Terry Childs did, was that okay? Or was that not okay? Okay, so this is case 1. The next case I want you guys to think about, I'll give you 3 cases of Desmond Haig. Desmond Haig was CEO of Center Plate, a catering company that serves food at sports stadiums around the country, and was caught on camera kicking a dog in a Vancouver elevator. After issuing a public apology, Haig agreed to attend anger management counseling, serve 1,000 hours of community service, and donate 100,000 of his own money to an animal charity. Less than a week later, he was forced to resign. From all other metrics, Mr. Haig was a good CEO. His company grew and profited while he was in charge, right? And so, was it okay for Mr. Haig to have been forced to resign? Okay. So, basically, he was caught on camera kicking a dog, right? And so this is somewhere, it was basically a computer system which saw him do something bad, right? But he was forced to resign. Was that okay? Was this legal? Was this should he have been forced to resign? That's the question I want you guys to discuss. And then the third one is about Wesley Autry. Mr. Autry was waiting for subway in Manhattan with his two daughters. Nearby, a man collapsed with a seizure. Mr. Autry and two women rushed to help. The man managed to get up, but then stumbled and fell onto the tracks. In an instant, Mr. Autry jumped onto the tracks. Mr. Autry pressed himself and the man into the space between the tracks. It gave them just enough room to avoid being hit by the train. 5 train cars rolled past before the train finally came to stop. Both men were relatively unharmed, right? And so question, is that something which you would have done, right? Could the same thing have been done? Okay, so these 3 cases, I am going to kind of have you guys break into rooms and discuss them. And I will have these cases up. We'll maybe take 6. We'll take maybe we'll take 10 minutes to discuss these 3 cases, and we'll come back. And what I want you guys to do is, talk with each other. Maybe some people, take the side that it was okay, and some people take the side that it was not okay. But what I want as a group, you guys to have an opinion on the subject. Like, should the question I have you is, should Terry Childs have been arrested? And then should Desmond Haynes have been fired? And then would you do something like what Wesley Autry did, right? So we are going to do that exercise. We have 24 people, so I'm going to break us in actually 4 people in each breakout. So actually, let's do 4 people in each breakout. So we're going to do 6 rooms. So everyone has enough time. Okay. So we are going to break out and discuss these 3 cases. Should Terry Childs have been fired? Oh, sorry. Should Terry Childs have been arrested? Should Desmond Haig have been fired? And then would you do the same thing as Mr. Wesley Autry did? Okay. These 3 questions you're going to discuss. And at the end of it, I'm going to have each group kind of present, like, their thought. One person would present of what they thought, and we'll have a conversation. Okay. All right. So we have 10 minutes to do this, and let's go ahead and do that.
Okay.
What just happened?
Hmm.
I thought you got kicked out of the course.
Do you think you got put out?
Yeah, I got kicked out.
Okay, because it's odd.
I
I'm just, how you doing, man? I'm just using the chat just because I'm teaching a class. So if I'm not talking much, it's just because I'm using the chat because I'm teaching a class.
so you guys are not you are in your own room, and I think there should be yeah,
I
Two
three of
was in
you
a
different
guys.
people?
room for a while, then I got kicked out. I don't know what happened.
Uh, no, you are in the right room. What happened? Did you get kicked out?
I got kicked out, yeah.
No, I'll move you. Move to, okay. Um, uh, you guys can make your own room here. How about let's do that. I think it's uh we have Moham, Amin, Eric, and Anthony yourself. How about you guys make a room here?
It's in response to the feed. Yeah.
Eric, you are in this room? Okay. Anthony, I'm gonna move you to room 1. Is that okay?
Of course, sounds good.
Okay, you just have to accept. Uh, Moham, why are you not in a room? Okay. And Amin, why are you not in a room? All right. Sweet. Looks like everyone's back. Okay, cool. Why don't one person from each group kind of summarize what they talked about? And you go ahead.
Does it matter who goes first?
No, doesn't. Yeah.
So I could say that me and my group with the first article around the man who was fired because he kicked a dog, I think. We all agreed that he deserved it. Like you don't go around kicking dogs. But also we were all kind of skeptical about like how no one else saw it except for cameras. Because he was in a public place, wasn't he?
He was in the elevator.
Oh, and it was just him?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, now I know why people didn't see that, but still, okay. Doesn't change my stance on it. He deserved to be fired. Like, that's not okay. And then concerning the second article, where a man was arrested because he didn't want to give up a personal code. I mean, like, wouldn't there have been other options before he was arrested? Like, hey, if you like give you some amount of money or do something else, we want to arrest you.
No, they tried everything.
Oh, well, that's on him then. And then where the third article where someone saved someone who was trapped on the railroad tracks of the subway. We all agreed that it was a risky move, but it paid off in the end, and both of them got to walk away from it with no injuries. So, if anything, I'm glad both of them are okay. But I think the dude who saved that guy made the right choice. And that's it. Sorry.
Okay, awesome. So these are like the reason I picked these three case studies. They are a little bit interesting because and this is for other people as they are gonna present, right? Like what I want you guys to think was like is this required by law? Was Mr. Haig required by law to be, forced to resign? And, are you required by law to help someone, right? And so that's the big part of ethics you want to kind of, understand, like, just because, there is no law for something doesn't like how do we react to the fact that there is no law about something, right? Okay, cool. All right. Other group? We had 6 groups, so I'm expecting 6 people. Yeah.
I can try to summarize group 5 and
Yeah,
other
go ahead.
group members feel free to chime in. We mostly talked about the Terry Childs incident. And we wondered, the story, as we kind of looked at it online, seemed to imply that he believed that there were his bosses were corrupt or incapable of running the system. And so it raised the question of, while we all in the end decided that he certainly broke the law and it seemed like he deserved to be arrested, there was an interesting ethical question about like, what is your responsibility if you believe that doing something that is legal, like just handing over the password, leads to potentially a lot of innocent people being harmed, right? Like the city data being leaked or becoming insecure. And I wouldn't say we answered the question, but we had an interesting discussion about like kind of how challenging that situation might be from an ethical standpoint if you really believed that you were going to cause harm by following the law. And we talked about someone like Edward Snowden, for example, who had to break the law to show that the law was being broken. We didn't spend very much time talking about Mr. Haig, the dog kicker, but we mostly thought that he probably deserved to be forced to resign, although there were some questions about, well, what was the dog doing? And, was this a case of self-defense, or, was the dog attacking him or something? In which case, what on the face of it sounds like absolutely a dog kicker is a bad person. Maybe there were extenuating circumstances that we don't know about. And then we didn't even get to number 3, but I trust that my group members all would jump in front of a subway to save a stranger.
Appreciate it.
Awesome. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Anyone else? I think we have a few more groups.
Yeah, for group 3, we mostly talked about the child's incident, about how he wouldn't give up the passcode only to the mayor. And I believe the question was, should he have been arrested? And as a group, we all expressed yes, that he should have been arrested. But we kind of varied about not having enough information for making that decision. So I went on a blog and, just for a second or two, kind of just look for more information on it, because I was in a similar situation in San Francisco with a guy that was dying from AIDS. And they wanted me to talk to him about getting the password for the accounting system. And I refused to do it because I felt that I wasn't prepared to talk to someone who's dying, and the only reason I'm going to talk to him is to gather information from him. And when I asked them why me, they said, well, like that everyone likes you and he likes you, and to me, that wasn't a good enough reason.
Awesome. Anyone else? I think we got a couple more groups.
Yeah, for group 2 with the Terry Childs, we agreed that he probably should have been arrested, but also kind of wondered like why he was the only person that knew this password and why there wasn't any other means to reset it. Like, what if he died instead of just refusing to give up the password? It's a little bit of an oversight, I think. And the kicking the dog, like the CEO is kind of a face of a company. So if he's caught kicking a dog on camera, it kind of makes the entire company look bad.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Anyone else? I think we got 1 or 2 more groups, right? And you can use the chat as well if all right. Maybe I'm gonna volunteer someone.
Shit,
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. I have a question. I understand we need protect people's information. I don't know if I'm wrong or not, but in that case, my question is: only the CEO requests the information for for Terry?
Can you say your question again?
Yeah, my question is only the CEO who's requested the information?
For whom?
For the guy who's they said will be arrested.
Yeah, it's the mayor. Yes.
Yeah, so I think because it's personal information, maybe he cannot share, but for him share that information, he cannot share directly for CEO, right? First, he need uh, speak with his manager and another person in the top to say, hey, the CEO requests this information, this is personal information. For I share this information, I need someone knows I am share this information for him, and I need your signature, the one or two person for that person's knows he shared that information for that CEO, because maybe he think that CEO is not a good person, because it's like a personal information, right? So if the CEO asks for him the information, he okay, I send the information for you, and the CEO can do whatever he wanted the information, right? And nobody.
Yeah. Well, can does someone want to explain what's going on? I think yeah. How about Andrew? You want to explain to Tiago what's?
Yes, please, because I don't read this topic. I don't understand this topic. Sorry.
I'm gonna volunteer one person to explain. Should I volunteer or someone wants to explain? How about Andrew? You want to explain?
Yeah, this is, sorry, I was doing something else. It was regarding the Terry Childs case, right?
That's right. Yes.
Yeah. Actually, his boss asked him to hand over the password. He created the fiber WAN or whatever, and he's the architect. So he refused to give the password over. And a lot of people's lives are in jeopardy because it has to do with payroll. I don't know what the impact is, but a lot of people. So by ethics, whatever he designed on the system should belong to the company, including the password he created. But for whatever reason, I don't know why he doesn't want to. Maybe he doesn't like his boss. Well, that's minimum. Or maybe his boss is doing something illegal. I'm just interjecting, but it didn't say that. So, and eventually they put him to jail. They want him to turn over the password because the whole city of San Francisco is in jeopardy, whoever runs on the server. And then he finally agreed to write it down and hand it over to the governor, Gavin Newsom. So I don't know what's the relationship that he's able to hand it over. Maybe I don't know if there's any conspiracy theory between the two of them. So
maybe
stuff. So
one protect
there's not
himself.
enough information that why he doesn't not want to turn over. But ethically, whatever he did, he has to turn it over, especially the impact.
That's right. So, does that help, Diego?
Can you say again?
That is explained.
Yeah, I get a little.
Okay. Yeah, so the interesting part of these three case studies is like that spectrum of ethics, and that's the thing you want to be aware of. Like in Terry Child's case, by law, what he did, these are the laws, right? You cannot do this. So the law he broke was like do not interfere with other people's computer work. So he interfered with other people's computer work by keeping the password secret, right? Not giving the password. So that clearly he violated. He might be an activist, like in case of Edward Snowden, but he clearly broke a law. So in court of law, he it was fair for him to be arrested. Now, Mr. Hake, he was caught on camera kicking a dog, and there is an argument about a lot of things like, which we do online, online people shout at each other, or people are impolite to each other, people say nasty things to each other because they might be anonymous. No one might know who you are typing stuff up. But a lot of people do really, really questionable things online, which, they wouldn't do if it was if there were people watching them. So, by law, Mr. Hake didn't do anything wrong, but in the perception of ethics by people, right, like that he kicked a dog, that was not acceptable. And that was wrong. And so the way the ethics were forced there was by a group of people making him look bad, right? And so and there was no law which would have had him, forced to resign, but he still had to resign. So you want to think of ethics in that perspective. Should I do something which I wouldn't do otherwise, right? Even if no one is watching me. So he did something which he shouldn't have done because he thought no one's watching him, right? Because he was in an elevator and he probably didn't know or like he knew there is a camera, but he didn't quite it was not the same thing he would have done if there was someone in the elevator with him, for example, right? But still, the punishment was pretty hefty. So you want to think like, even if someone is not watching me, and I might not be caught, but there could be a way like someone can show it, and then you might have consequences for it, even though it might not be illegal, if you will, right? But it is unethical. So there is a difference between illegal and unethical, right? And the last one is like, Wesley Autry jumped in front of a train to save someone, right? Like, there was no law requesting him to that his duty. No one really wanted to kind of, a lot of people wouldn't have done it, like, but he did. But and that came from his personal ethics, right? And so the ethics to actually help. So the bar is pretty high there, that, statistically, not a lot of people are going to do what Wesley Autry did. But as humans, there is still a significant percentage of us which have a high ethical bar, So you want to think of like in terms of that gradation of ethics, right? There is some ethics which is clearly wrong in eye of law. There is some ethic which is clearly like wrong in eyes of a large portion of people. And then there is some ethic which is very rare, but it's heroic. Like, so that's sort of the spectrum you want to think of. And all of this applies to cybersecurity when you operate. So, you want to keep in mind, like, when you're doing something, just because there is no law, or just because someone is not see, you want to be at the best of the behavior in that sense. And you want to kind of encourage people to do that. Okay, sweet, awesome. So we're going to discuss two topics. I'm going to be a little bit fast on them, and there is a fair bit of content on it. So we're not going to take our second break, but we're going to jump right into it. Before we do, any questions from you guys from what we discussed on ethics?
Yeah, I was going to say it's very sad that in today's society, ethic is something that has kind of lowered the bar instead of raising it. Just because everybody does it doesn't mean it's right, for example. And even though something is not done right, nobody says anything that is actually against the ethics, right?
And it is a bit of sad thing, but it's also something which kind of comes in cycles. Like, the problem is you kind of heard a lot in our day-to-day conversations, and like, the trust of people with other people is at like low, historic low. We don't trust institutions. We don't trust because they have failed us, right? Because they have not kept up their side of ethics. And so this is one of those things you want to kind of keep in mind. It is what goes around comes around. It's a cycle in a way. Like, if the institutions operated very ethically and with high regards, people will themselves hold on a high value, right? So it is a societal value. The breaking down of trust, breaking down of institutions might be a side effect of like the bar going too low, right? So you want to think of that. Okay. Also, like, there is a little bit you want to think in terms of activism. People describe and people justify a lot. So one example sometimes I use with high school kids is like, if you had a friend who came to you and said, hey, someone stole, someone put a really bad picture of them on Instagram, let's say, or like some social media site, and is shaming them. Can you hack into their account and delete my photo? Would you do that for your friend?
No.
And so what would you tell them?
To go to the police?
Right? Anyone else? What would you tell them?
I would say hacking into people's account is wrong. And plus, I don't have the ability to help them.
Yeah, so there is ways. So first of all, like, yeah, they are being bullied in a way, like, there may be a photograph which they didn't want to be online is online. Someone has forced it on them. So there is now a lot of awareness about, like, how to deal with cyber bullies, if you will. So you kind of educate them on it. And on the second hand side, the law is pretty clear on that. If you actually hack into their account, you are going to be at fault, right? Because you use someone's computer which you're not authorized to use. You use their data which you're not authorized to use, right? So you want to kind of say it in both ways, like, hey, it's illegal, plus, but the right thing to do here is, like, report this person, go to authorities, things like that, right? um um so yeah, so ethics is also a topic which sometimes can get political. Don't like, and it is political in a way, like, what you think of something is right or wrong. But keep that in mind, like, at least the low bar of ethics is law. The high bar of ethics is, like, jumping in front of a train for someone else. It comes in spectrum. But you want to try and push the needle as higher on the spectrum as possible, because it's the environment you live in. You want to live in an environment with high ethics and not low ethics. So that's the takeaway here. Of course, it'll be in shades of gray. There. Awesome. So we're gonna cover two topics, incident response and cryptography. They're a little bit different, but the first one, I want to kind of talk a little bit, and we will cover it in next class in an interactive way. I will have you guys do like an incident response. So kind of take what you're studying today as a foundation for it. If you can read a little bit, I will encourage you guys to kind of read on incident response and post on Discord. Like, go find some incident response things, which, companies have done, like some incident response playbook or some incident response case study or something like that, and then post it on the Discord. We will discuss it next week, and then we'll do an introduction to cryptography. This is going to be a little bit of information where you want to think of like ciphers and codes and things like that. So let's talk about incident response, right? So what does when we talk about incident response, we talk about like a cybersecurity incident, right? Like, so if someone got hacked, if a bank had its had its funds stolen, then there is an incident. If Twitter has some of its accounts defaced, that is an instance. If the insurance company loses information of its insurance holders, their personal information, like there's phone numbers and social security numbers, stuff like that, that's an incident, right? So if a hospital loses health records for its patients, then that's an incident, right? There is a security incidents, and so when you kind of have an incident, you want to think of like, of how do you now deal with it when there is a theft, right? So the first step in that is you kind of make up a team, incident response team. So and in that team you have the chief security officer, the chief information security officer, or any sort of your security officer is part of it. And then there is a coordinator, so person who kind of is like the is the quarterback of it, if you will, right? And so when you kind of look at incidents, you want to kind of keep that in mind, that it is always handled by CSIRT. So what does that CSIRT stand for? It's Computer Security Incident Response Team, right? And so that's Computer Security Incident Response Team, CSIRT, right? So there are different people in organization which support a CSIRT. So your legal department, human resources, marketing, facilities, security, so on and so forth, right? And so they all support it. So typically, an incident response, the way the CSIRT does an incident response is based on the type of the incident, and then for each incident, a well-oiled machine, a well-run company has a playbook. And what does the playbook kind of include? It includes several steps, like the preparation step, the detection step, analysis, containment, eradication, recovery, and post-incident, right? So there are all these steps which happen to an incident. So we'll talk about one of them, right? Like, so, let's say, and we will do a exercise. Uh, let's say, you are at Experian, and they lose information of their customers, which is Experian is the credit monitoring company, and it has information for people's bank accounts, their credit card numbers, their social security numbers, so on and so forth, right? So when an incident happens and they lose information, what are you going to do, right? Like, and how are you going to identify what got lost? Or how are you going to do the impact? So how are you going to do a root cause? Let's say, you know, someone hacked one server at Experian and stole a bunch of files, and later posted on a underground forum that, hey, you know, here is all the information from Experian, and that's how Experian comes to know about it, right? What are you going to do after that? How are you going to handle an incident when you got to know about that incident from an underground forum that someone has posted, you know, 10,000 customers from Experience database?
I had to work on responding to it right away as best as I could. Well, me and my company, but still.
Right. So the first thing you would do is you would go as a company, you would try to contain the incident. You would go and see, oh, you know, where it is this get leaked from? It might be one server, it might be two. And what you do is you physically or by network or perimeter control, you take them off your system first. Of course, you cannot take the whole system down. So you at least go and take down the systems which you think are compromised, right? Then you kind of, you know, you study these systems which were compromised, you quarantine them, you figure out like how they got like hacked, right? There might be a virus, there might be like a firewall rule which is not configured well, there might be you know, someone's credentials who were stolen, so on and so forth, right? And then what you do is you clean these systems, you completely wipe them off, you put things which are properly, and then you know you bring them back online only when you're sure, right? So first thing you would do is you would contain the incident, you would eradicate, like there could be so many different ways you could eradicate the thing which caused it. And then after that, you do incident recovery, right? Which is like, hey, what all did we lose? Did we lose like, you know, some important information from our systems, which was other than the customer information? Then you have to deal with legal considerations. You have to notify all your customers, right? Like, hey, you know, such and such thing was hacked, and our data was stolen. And then very many times you offer like credit monitoring services, or you offer some sort of compensation and security tools for your customers, right? And so you have to do that. Now, more and more agencies, including the SEC, are getting very stringent about how companies handle data breaches, because companies were so so sneaky about these sort of things that they wouldn't acknowledge that there is an incident until like they're forced to acknowledge. So now even the SEC deals with only the company's, you know, stocks and public prices and things like that. SEC is going to fine them if they don't report their incidents properly. So that's a new development, but there is also other agencies in the government which are supposed to kind of take care. The number one agency you want to kind of reach out to is you know, the so there is you know, law enforcement. From your state, there is law enforcement you want to reach out to. There is federal law enforcement you want to reach out to, to let them know that you were hacked by such and such hacker group, or you were hacked and you had an incident, even if you don't know who the hacker is, right? So different federal agencies are involved in hacking cases. Local law authority agencies are also involved. So you want to notify them. And then you also want to notify, authorities like SEC, Computer Fraud and Abuse Act entities, things like that, right? So you want to keep that in mind. And then you want to preserve any proof. So the systems where, the attack came in, like, the data was lost from certain server, you want to make sure that that data you don't just wipe out, you store it so you can kind of do some sort of a forensic on it, forensic analysis on it. Okay. Cool. So when you do forensic analysis, the one thing, if you want to kind of remember, is like, do not tamper the data. You just, like, this computer where you kind of got, like, this image of the attack, you basically just store the same image. You don't try to, like, delete some files or wipe out, like, wipe out some information you didn't want to be there, because if you tamper with that information, then you're going to lose the forensic nature of it. Like, you cannot take that information and present in a court of law. So keep that in mind. Like, one of the things you want to keep in an incident is, like, you get a forensic evidence of the incident. Okay, so this is the forensic process. You have a whole class on digital forensics, so I'm not going to kind of go into, like, images and things like that, but keep that in mind. So these are in general the steps of incident response. The next week in the class, we will try out an exercise on incident response and the one I like is playing a game called Backdoors and Breaches. We'll possibly play a little bit of it in the class, so keep that in mind. Also, like, look at incidents which happened recently, and also find, like, incident response playbooks on internet and read them a little bit, and maybe, post on Discord what you thought of incident response playbooks. Sweet. I think Anthony has a question here. Go ahead.
Yeah, isn't it now like a law that you have to, like, tell, I guess, the government something happened when they got, like, when a company got, like, hacked or something like that, like information got leaked out or something like that?
Yeah, of course, there is a lot of laws. Every industry, like financials industry, like, credit card companies have their laws. Health industry, like HIPAA is law. There is a lot of laws which mandate that, but overarching, the new one which is getting more enforced is from SEC. SEC is the Securities and Exchange Board. So sort of think of it like New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ. The bodies which govern the stock exchanges is now going after companies for not reporting security incidents. And more specifically, actually, it's going after the chief information security officers of the companies.
Thank you.
Okay, sweet, awesome. So we'll switch gears and get into security, so cryptography. So let's talk about cryptography a little bit. And the way we're going to kind of talk about it is through a little bit of story. Before, the way you want to think of cryptography and forensics and just in general hiding things is like, back in the day when there were no computers or anything, like, we still had a need to send important messages across without someone else being reading it. So the first known use of ciphers was by Julius Caesar in 3rd century BC, where the way he would do a cipher was, he would substitute a letter by another letter. So for example, in this case, you wanted to this is called the Caesar cipher. If he wanted to send the message, secret, and then the cipher was shift to the 3. So for example, like S on here or S on here, right, was shifted by 3. So what does that mean? That means like, A became D, and B became E, and C became F. So if I wanted to send the letter secret, the way I would make letters, the word secret is, for S it's V. So I'm going to say V, H, F, what's for R, U, what's for E, H, and what's for T, W. So I'm going to send, instead of sending the word secret, I'm going to send the letter shifted by 3. And that would be my cipher, right? And so if anyone going to read the word secret, they're going to read like, what is this thing starting with V and, ending in W. It's not a word, so they're not going to think anything is important. But the person who is reading knows that there is a shift of 3. So then when they're going to decipher it, so remember cipher, when they're going to decipher it, so they're going to undo it, they're going to move the letters the opposite way. So for the V, they're going to read it as S, and for the W, they're going to read it as T. So keep that kind of in mind, like, it was just shifting of digits, and the number of the digits you shifted it was called the cipher, +3, +4, +5, that sort of stuff. So that kind of cipher is called Caesar cipher. That's a little bit advanced. It was used in 3rd century BC by Julius Caesar. That's how he used to write notes and send it with his generals at the war. In the war. So like, invade Gaul. If Caesar is sending the note like invade Gaul, he's going to write it with the Caesar cipher. And so even if his messenger got captured while the note is being in transit to his general, no one's going to be able to read what that base meant. Okay. There were other generals who were not as sophisticated, and the way they would do it is like something like this. What they would do is they would shave the messenger, and they would write the message on the head of the messenger. Then they would wait until the hair goes back, and then the messenger is going to go with the message. And so if in the case the messenger was captured while he was delivering the message, no one's going to be knowing that you need to shave his head to read the message. But the person who gets the message knows to shave the head of the messenger, and then they kind of read the message. So those were also, they were a little bit longer, harder ways, but these were also methods used to send secret messages. But the one which is more modern is it's contributed to Julius Caesar is called Caesar cipher. And so you could kind of make these ciphers on these cipher wheels, like you rotate the inside wheel by 3, so like whether A becomes D or C becomes F, that sort of stuff. So this shifting you can kind of do with a wheel as well. Have any of you guys seen buildings like these in San Francisco? So these are called Masonic buildings. You will see the Freemasons build these buildings all over the country. And outside of these buildings, you will usually see these ciphers. And they're called Freemason ciphers. And the way the Freemason ciphers work is like they basically divide, the alphabet across these symbols. So if I wrote the symbol this reverse L, then that's an A. If I had a greater than sign, then that's a K. If I had like this little bucket with a dot in it, then that's an O. So you will see these symbols outside of these buildings, and you will see these like these nautical looking signs, but they are basically these Freemason ciphers. So if you actually, and this is important for you, if you actually were to decipher this, can someone tell me how would you decipher this? So this hat, what would the letter be for hat? This hat, the first hat, in
M
this M, right? And then
A
what A, right? And then what is
R
R, right? And then this one,
Y
what? So what's that first letter?
Mary.
Right? So there you go. So these are Freemason ciphers. And I won't go into this because this you can decipher the rest of it, right? You can cipher it using the top, and then you kind of do the reverse of it. It's called decipher or decipher. So how many of you guys have seen, like, your computer files look something like this? Right? If you open up like a PDF file, it will look like all jumbled and garbled like this, right? So the computers, now fast forward like a few centuries, right? Like now we have computers. Can we do better on the ciphers? We can, right? And so the way computers do is they do these ciphers, but they just do it much longer and much stronger. And so I'll show you an example of what a computer does, and which is used as encryption schemes. So I have a word called geeks for geeks, and I have a key called hack. And so the way I'm going to do, so this technique is called as transposing. And so this is how you kind of, encrypt. And the way you are going to encrypt this geeks for geeks is by this key called hack. So what does that mean? I'm going to write HACK. How many letters are those? How many letters is it? Four, right? Four. Right? And so I'm gonna take geeks for geeks and like split it into 4 columns. So I'm just gonna write it geeks and then space for space geeks and then last geeks. So each column has 4 letters. So right. And so when I'm going to transpose this, what I'm going to write it as is, because my key is hack, the way I'm going to say is it's ordered by the alphabet number. So, in alphabet, A comes before C, right? Which comes before H, which comes before K, right? So I'm going to write the number 1, 2, 3, 4 for the key, right? And so when I write down the encryption for geeks using the key hack, I am going to write it as this. I'm going to take the first one, which is E space K. Then I'm going to write the second one, which is E F capital G S. Then I'm going to take the third one, G S R E, and then I'm going to take the fourth one, right? So when I kind of write this down, that like from geeks for geeks, I got this like very garbled up string, right? And so the length of the key in this case was how much? 4, right? And so when I encrypted this geeks for geeks string to this garbage looking string, which, starts with E and ends with a space, then, that is encryption of geeks for geeks. And what was the key length I used? What was the key length of 4, right? So this is very similar to the encryption key used by modern encryption called AES. AES stands for Advanced Encryption System. It is very similar to what I just showed you. And the big difference is instead of the key length of 4, AES uses a key length of 128. So, you know, these columns, instead of it being 4 columns, it has 128 columns. And the computer can do this encryption and decryption, which is ciphering and deciphering very quickly because of the nature of these metrics. And that's how these encryption keys work. So the secret of a stronger encryption key is not the technique which I just showed you, which I can do it by hand, but is the key length. So that if I increase the key length to 256, so the accepted AES key length now is 256. What does that mean? If I have a key which is in 256 columns and I don't share the key, which is the 256-bit key, then even a modern supercomputer cannot break that encryption. It cannot guess the key. So, and that's the power of math and encryption here, that you cannot do that. And this way, when I encrypt this way, it's called symmetric encryption. The reason it's called symmetric is because both me and the person who's going to read this message, the Geeks for Geeks message, know that the key is hack. So when the it's a four length key, and it is HACK. Both of us know. So that's called a symmetric encryption, when both of us share the key. When only one of us knows the key, it's called asymmetric, and I will talk about it in a bit. So keep that in mind. So the next thing you want to kind of know about is, these are cryptography ciphering ways. What about ways in which you can hide a message inside a message? So when you actually do that, when you hide a message inside a message, it's called steganography. What's it called?
Steganography.
Steganography, that's right. So this was a technique which was very popular, and it still is popular, and it was used in World War II by the German spies. So the way they would do is they would send messages back home from New York through the classified stage of the New York Times. And so what was the technique? So for example, this is a real example where someone posted this in the classified of New York Times. President's embargo ruling should have immediate notice. Grave situation affecting international law. Statement foreshadows ruin of many neutrals. Yellow journals unifying national excitement immensely. So if you read this, it just looks like some garbled up English, which you don't know what it is meant for, who it is, what does it convey, but it could be stuck into the classifieds. But when you actually see the message in it is like the first letter of each word. If you take the first letter, which is yellow here for each of these words, you get a message, and the message reads: Pershing sails from New York, June 1st. So now the German spies have notified their home country that the Allied army is going to leave New York on June 1st. So that's so the way when you do something like that, it's called steganography. Another good example of this is Sir John Trevenant was locked up in a Colchester castle in Essex, and he was about to be executed, but his fellow royalists sent him this letter. And so this letter, if you read it, it says like, "Worthy Sir John," so on and so forth, and it just reads like British English. But if you actually take third letter after every punctuation, it told Sir John, that a panel at east end of the chapel slides. That's what the message is. PANEL, so on and so forth. So the message in this letter he got was that a panel at east end of the chapel slides. And so he read that, he deciphered it using steganography. He went to the west end, slide the tile, and was able to actually, escape the prison. or escape the castle. And so these are real life uses of steganography. You know, when you kind of use computers today, the way you want to think of steganography is very many times messages are sent inside of images. That's steganography. So you can take an image of a penguin and encrypt some message you want to send and embed it in the GIF file and send that GIF file. And what you see around going is a GIF file or a JPEG file or a PNG file. But really, when you undo it, you can actually read a secret message inside the file. So that's steganography with computers. So I'm not gonna go into binary and decimal, but fast forward, you know, Second World War, you guys probably have heard this a fair bit. Like, you know, there was a machine which did cryptography for Germany called Enigma. And this was the cipher which was used to send messages. This was a machine which created these encrypted messages. And so, you know, and now we have way more powerful computers which do cryptography. But the cryptography at very heart is nothing but these transpositions, right? Like which we talked about. I'm gonna talk a little bit, and that will be our last topic we covered today. You know, what we kind of saw cryptography was where the key is known by you and your receiver, right? You know, shift by 3 in the case of Caesar cipher, you know, shave the head in case of, you know, other generals, you know, in case of Geeks for Geef that the shared key is hack, so on and so forth. But, you know, there are instances, and a good example is, you know, and this is just an approximation where, you know, you want to take money out of your bank, your ATM, right? And so you go to the ATM, you put in your, you know, ATM card, and then the ATM asks you for a PIN, right? And so the PIN is only known to you. Whereas your bank account number, which is on your card, is known to you as well as the bank. So the reason the ATM is giving you money is because, you know, you told it your secret key, which is, you know, your PIN which you entered it. So think of public cryptography as that same way, where, you know, both parties know some shared secret or which is very much open, like, you know, your bank account number. But you are going to be able to read the message only if you enter your private key. And your private key, like ATMP, enables you to decode the message. And so the math behind it is a little bit complicated. It's based on prime numbers. It's called RSA. But conceptually, you want to think of it like you can do the same kind of the cryptography which we kind of talked about. But in this case, you don't have to share a key. And you kind of come to you can decode a message with only one person having a secret key. And so this type of cryptography is used in all the modern communications you see. So you see like your browser, for example, right? Like, you know, if you, let's go to Peralta here, you will see, you know, there is this SSL certificate, and this says connection is secure, and this certificate has some details. So the detail, this thing being used in the browser is public key cryptography. Here you will see Amazon RSA. So it has a public and a private key cryptography. And so this certificate was given to, you know, Canvas cluster. And there is like, you know, things you will see SHA-256. There is a public key. So this is the public key of this certificate. So this sort of cryptography is used for all modern communications in the browser. It's called public key cryptography. And the way eventually information is shared with each other is using a symmetric key cryptography called AES-256, which I won't go too much detail into, but I just want you guys to be aware of it. Okay, Sweet. All right, we are a couple minutes over. I'm gonna wrap up. That was the cryptography. So next class we'll talk a little bit more about some I recommend you if you want to read the book Cryptomecon. But we'll cover some games on incident response in next class, and then if you have any questions on cryptography, bring them to next class. Post on Discord for each of these topics, and last but not least, I'll review the lab and the homework. Okay, so your lab is going to be a bit harder. Now that you have try Hack Me, what I want you guys to do is complete complete the basic pen testing lab. So this is the room. This is a pretty hard lab. So I don't expect you guys to finish it, okay? So be very mindful. Complete the assignment and submit the screenshot as a PDF document. You don't have to get all the answers. So this is the lab. What you are asked to do is web app testing and privilege escalation. But really what I want you guys to do is try going through this video first. So this video is by one of the prominent hackers. And he explains how to do this lab. Okay, it's about 30 minutes, 30 minutes video. And then using the attack box, what you try to do is you connect to the network, you find the services exposed. I'm gonna log in just to show you a couple things, right? Okay, yeah, I'm gonna log in. So this is going to be foreign to some of you guys, but you can use the hint. You can go on the internet. There is write-ups for a lot of these labs, and specifically for this one, you can review it. But what I want you to do is when you write your own write-up, I want you guys to write it as you did it. You do not have to get all the answers. There is about 12 questions in here. Even if you got 3, it's fine. But what is important is that you try this basic pen testing lab. It is the hardest lab in this whole class, but it is the lab you're going to learn a lot from. So keep that in mind. And if you need a hint, you can kind of add the commands I talked about, the command line tools and things like that. You will have to use Nmap. You will have to use Dirbuster. You will have to use Hashcat. You will have to use Hydra, or few things which are completely foreign to you. You might have to use them, but this is the part which is about hacking. It's about learning new tools, learning new techniques, and trying. You will fail a lot, but the success to learning hackers technique is keep trying, right? Because if it were that straightforward, everyone else was going to be doing it. So this lab is basically a test of patience, if you will. So keep that in mind. Document all of your work, and when you upload the PDF, just be as detailed as possible. You do not have to get everything right. The point here is not to complete this lab, but the point here is to learn how to be persistent. Okay. So this is an important lab. It is here. If you do any of the other labs and include screenshots for it, you will get bonus points. So that is your lab this week. I think Anthony has a question.
Yeah, when's the lab due? When's the test due?
Yeah, so the lab is due before next class. So by
Week
next
from now?
Friday.
A
Yeah,
week from now, okay.
a week from now, and then the test is due by Sunday midnight.
All right, do the
Okay.
test first then, all right.
Yeah, so the test is going to be available right now, and you know the lab, I just published it, so the lab is available right now. Your first quiz will be available like now as well. I'll just show you the questions. It's a pretty simple quiz. It is based on your last uh so it is, yeah, it is due Sunday 5 p.m., but I'm just going to do it 11 p.m. Yeah, okay.
So,
So go ahead.
how many times for quiz? Is it only permit one time or two or three or open?
It's open. You can
Okay.
try.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So the quiz is going to be on the last. It's a pretty straightforward. It's 5 questions. Sorry, 4 questions. You know, explain elements of CIA triad. What is purpose of pen testing? Give definitions of black box, gray box, white box testing, and then this one is a relatively big question. Can a website application or a system be totally secure? Why or why not? And you know, talk about like security onion or the things like we talked about in the last class. That's 40 points. So that's your quiz. It is available right now as well. And then the lab is also available. The quiz is due on by Sunday, and then the lab is due before next class. Any questions? I think Craig and Ulysses have a question here.
Yeah, I was wondering with the pen testing assignment on the Try Hack Me, you mentioned a number of techniques. Will Try Hack Me introduce us to those techniques when we go through it, or is that
Yes,
stuff we're going to?
No, these are explained in the video.
In the
there
video.
is-
Okay.
If you listen to this video, John Hammond, he's a well-known hacker teacher. He talks about specifically this lab
Okay.
and how to do it.
Great.
And you know, in this lab, you learn about brute forcing, hash cracking, service enumeration, and Linux enumeration. All these techniques he talks about. You don't have to get like any of this right. Like, you know, again, like, because I know a lot of people are going to be stumbled by this because this is like quite foreign. What I want you guys to learn, and this lab is about like how to try without you knowing anything about like computers or the system. Can I just learn and try to mimic what these guys are doing? And can I be persistent in doing it?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay, I think, yeah.
Yeah,
Ulysses.
I just have one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Professor, I don't know if that's possible. That's my humble opinion, right? Can we do one lab all together? Because I took one class last semester and we were just following the step, but we don't know like we were doing, you know, I mean, something like to be more clear, an example, this exercise, this lab, do you know what is the cracking for, to know more about what we're doing and not just following the steps and trying to get it done. And at the end, we were like, okay, what we did, just following the instruction from a computer, just to be more aware of what we're doing or what is good for that technique.
Yeah. We'll cover in the coming classes. We'll cover a lot of this. This is an introduction. Yeah, we'll like, you know, we'll be doing these things. And the tools, why were you doing the
Thank
tools
you.
as well. So also, like, you know, this is not like your NetLabs lab where, you know, there is like list of things and you just follow it and it happens. It's not like that. So that's why you have to watch the video first. I highly recommend, as you watch the video, you take paper and pen notes, because you will have to use it later and you don't know where in the video you read, or you might have to go and read like another you know, lab somewhere. and you might not know how to do it. That's why, this is sort of the test of, like, how to learn, how to be persistent. So, this lab is not like just a walkthrough. You will have to put in a fair bit of effort. Okay, it's going to take you at least 3-4 hours. If you are new, if you already know what you're doing, you can do it in 40 minutes at the most. But if you're new, it'll take you 4-5 hours. So, plan your time, because you get only 1 hour of machine time with, the attack box. So you can only use the attack box for 1 hour every day. So plan that. But I highly recommend, like, watch the basic John Hammond's. There is also a whole bunch of other YouTube videos which show this exact lab. There's also a whole bunch of write-ups which show this exact lab. So read all of them, make your notes. You will also find answers for everything. But when you do this lab, I want you to just do it yourself, right? And so learn everything, and you can also find the steps to do it and the commands to type. But when you do it yourself, and the write-up you write includes all the things you learn. Okay. Sweet. I got a couple more questions here. Yeah, go ahead, Andrew.
Oh, yes. Hi, Professor. Here it says use the OpenVPN. I guess we have to configure the OpenVPN to do the lab.
No, you can use it with the attack box. You don't need
okay.
OpenVPN.
I
That's
see.
why I'm saying, you can do it with attack box. You just need to plan, because you only get 1 hour every day.
Okay. And also the last assignment I sent in for the homework, I seem to have a problem creating a PDF file, attaching all the screenshots. So I was doing screen capture with the snippet tool, and then I send multiple JPEG file or PNG file.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that, please. So, you can, here on my screen, you see like Google document, and I'm just gonna insert like an image, like your
I see.
screenshot.
Okay.
Like, you can, like, I'm just gonna include, let's say, this screenshot, right? Like, this screenshot, for
okay.
example, right?
Oh, I see. I know it now. Thanks. I
So,
was trying to get into
yeah,
PDF, and then they asked me to
yeah,
pay
and
for
then
it.
yeah, the way you do PDF is this:
okay.
download the PDF here
Okay.
and use this PDF. It is all free. You can do it with Google Docs. If you have Word, you can do it with Microsoft Word too. But I want you guys to upload one PDF file. Don't upload individual
Okay.
images, please.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I'll do it this time.
Okay, I think Anthony, you have a question.
Yeah, so you want to take a screenshot. What do you want to take a screenshot of exactly?
As you kind of progress, like if you were to teach this lab to someone else, like, when you type, like, just be thorough on how you went about solving it, right? Like, so for example, like, you will have, like, the attack box, you're doing this privilege escalation, right? So you were like, find the services exposed on this machine. Yeah, here, I want you guys to, type nmap and show and take a screenshot of that. Like, take the screenshot of the black window.
All right, so basically take a screenshot of all these questions, right?
Yeah, exactly. As you do them.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? Okay, so again, keep in mind, okay, you're gonna be a bit stunned by the lab. It's one of the harder labs, but this is more for you to learn how to learn and be persistent. Okay, you're not getting points for getting it correct. You're getting points for trying. Okay. All right. Okay, guys, I'll see you next week. Again, like, post on Discord on all the things we talked about. Make it as, discussion as possible. If you have questions which doesn't have anything private or any assignment related things, please ask them on Discord so everyone can learn from it. And if I don't get in time, someone else can possibly answer it for you. So make full use of Discord, okay?
Thank you.
Where exactly on Discord you want to put on
Just
the?
yeah, just in the CIS 55 channel.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right,
you.
guys. Okay,
Bye.
have a nice weekend. See you guys next.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Hello?
Hey, bro, you know what time the class start? Hello? Can you hear me?
Uh, yeah, the class is over.
The class over? What time did it start? I thought it was Friday nights, or was that the day class?
It's a day class. It's 9
Okay,
a.m. to noon.
okay, you do the day class. I'm at night class, so I'm on the wrong call right now.
Oh, okay, okay.
Okay, right on. Have a good one, though.
Bye.
All right.